And a pleasant good evening to you on this Monday night in October from Chalmers Field, the home of the University of Dubuque Spartans. Time for a UD football show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel. After the Iowa Conference opener, and the Spartans open the season with a hard-fought victory over the Luther College Norse, 16-14, a game that took just 2 hours, 22 minutes to complete. I was talking with Coach, and I don't know if that's some kind of a record for around here in a time completed, but we kind of had a hunch it'd be that type of game. Both teams limited possessions, especially UD, but the Spartans took advantage of a couple of turnovers and were able to get the victory and open up Iowa Conference play with a 16-14 win. So we'll break that game down with Coach Zwiefel and look ahead to the Spartans' first road test in the Iowa Conference as they will travel to Simpson College this Saturday. And that is a 1 o'clock kickoff this year. So we want to remind Spartan fans that might be making the trip to Indianola. Sometimes that's been a 3 o'clock kickoff past years, but that is a 1 o'clock kickoff this year. And so we'll be on the air at 12:40 again on 101.1 The River, or you can pick up the live stream as well from the University of Dubuque's website at dbq.edu. Also, we've got a special treat for you, this UD football show with Stan Zwiefel. I've got in my hands here a pair of all-season athletic passes to University of Dubuque athletic events. That includes the remaining football games with Wartburg and the Central and the rest of the home slate for the Spartans, and also men's and women's basketball, wrestling, you name it. Whatever you have to pay to get into a UD athletic event, we'll give away a couple of those a little bit later here in the program. So get ready to call the River studio lines a little bit later here, and we'll give those away during the program. But when we come back, we're going to break down the Spartans' opening win in Iowa Conference play over the Luther College Norse. We'll have Coach Zwiefel join us coming up right after this. You're listening to UD Spartan, the UD Spartan Football Show on 101.1 The River. And we're back on this Monday night, the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel, pulling up a chair and joining us here to talk about a Spartan victory. And, Coach, much different from last year. You open up conference play with a victory. You protect your home turf with a 16-14 win in a game you knew you'd have limited possessions in. And, you had just enough in the tank to come up with a 16-14 win.
Really an interesting game, Tim. I think we were talking before the show started. It's one of the hardest things, and I talked about it last week, is practicing for their wishbone. And I thought we really implemented a great plan, and I had talked to our football team on Sunday after game how proud I was of the scout team because they gave us a tremendous look during the course of the week and gave us a ton of repetitions. But the hardest thing about it is picking up the speed at which they do run that option. And then, of course, they do a lot of cut blocking, Tim, which we don't see very much anymore in college football. And if you'd ask me for my own personal opinion, which I've given a number of times in the NCAA about, we talk about the concussion issue. With a cut block, it is probably as serious a situation for the players' legs and their knees as the concussion issue. But anyhow, catching up the speed of that game is extremely difficult. And you saw the first two possessions. They had some really good rushing on us, and it really took a while for us to catch up. But our plan caught up, our men caught up with the speed, and from about midway through the second quarter through the rest of the game, we probably played. And I told our coaches and our defenses, I've coached against that or played in it for 42 years, and I've never seen a better plan implemented than we implemented on this past Saturday. And of course, that goes out to our coaching staff, Coach Jackson, Coach Durnan, and Coach Simmons, but it really goes out to our players executing that plan that we had. So all that put together, we were able to get a couple turnovers. We were able to slow them down significantly in the second half. And even though we only scored 16 points, Tim, we had a number of long drives where we kept the football away from them. But I get and I look at the stats at the end of the game, it's like they played two games, we played one. And they almost had the ball 40 minutes just like they did last year. And as we had talked earlier last week, my gosh, every possession is like gold. You have to be able to do something with the football. And we had 2 3-and-outs in that fourth quarter, which I think just even speaks more highly of what our defense did in those last two possessions.
Taking us back to the first quarter, after you opened up with that long drive, frustration, you had a missed field goal opportunity to score there, and then Luther scored their touchdown after that 15-play drive, and then you were able to come up with a huge stop and force a punt.
Yep.
And then you drove nearly 5 minutes and had to settle for just 3 to go into the locker room. So that was a little bit frustrating for your offense.
7-3 at halftime, but I felt really good about our ability. We had a couple plans in offensively, obviously, and they seemed to be working very well. We had a first touchdown on our first drive was called back on a block in the back. And Tim, every week when we review film on Sunday morning, I send into the conference the commissioner of the officials about questionable calls that we have. There were 3 really bad calls in that football game. Unfortunately, all 3 went against us. The block in the black in the end zone we didn't think was a block in the back. The fourth quarter possession where they marked Davon Vance Jenkins down short of the first down was one of the most ridiculous spots I've seen. Really frustrating and very, very hard to take because we did get the first down, and that allowed them to get good field position. And then they gave them a first down in the fourth quarter where one field judge marked the ball 1.5 yards back, and the other one marked 1.5 yards up. And for whatever reasons, they went with the one ahead, and they got a first down by about 6 inches. But it's a good lesson for our football team, as I told them on Sunday. You can't control what that happens on that part. You just have to go on and forth. And the really interesting thing about the first drive, Tim, that we got called back on the block in the back, Curtis Brawl missed his first field goal probably 1.5 years. And I had been talking to Curtis before the game. We were just conversing, and I said, geez, I didn't realize you hadn't missed a field goal for 1.5 years.
Wrong thing to say.
Exactly. Murphy's Law for sure. And so we missed that field goal, and then the one possession just before the end of half where we drove it down to the half-yard line and had to settle for a field goal. There was a part we were going to call timeout and go for it on fourth down. I said, we've got to get points here, men. We just have got to get some points to get some momentum and stem whatever it may be. And we're very fortunate that we did. Whether we'd have scored or not, I'm not quite positive. There's no way to know that. But those points became instrumental in us winning the football game. So it's really interesting. That game you have to play for a limited amount of possessions. But even more importantly, every possession that you can get a point, whether it's a 3-point or a 6-point, those things become huge because you just don't have the ball very often.
Well, one of the reasons you knew Luther was going to start the second half with the ball, so you want to get some points. And it turned out after a long drive to the 38, huge fumble in the ball game, and you pick up the ball, and then you're able to eventually score a touchdown to take the lead.
Tim, there's a couple things I'd like to mention just so the fans understand this. It's when they accept the ball in this halftime, they deferred from the opening kick, so we took the ball. When halftime, they get to choose whether the ball or the win. There's a bunch of discussion about should you save the win for the fourth quarter, and my always thought process from one of my old college coaches, hey, Stan, if you wait till the fourth quarter, you might be too far behind for it to do you any dang good. So we took the win in the third quarter, and we talked earlier, Tim, wind was a factor in that game. Throwing the ball deep for sure, and it did affect the kicking game. And we did take the win in the third quarter and were able to score those 2 touchdowns with the wind. And that, I think, made a big difference. One after a turnover and then one after a short punt where we threw the deep pass to Trenton Curry. And so on our first touchdown, I do want to mention this. Johnny Duarte made a heck of a run after the catch.
It was a fine run.
And then Chris Bagley, which we had tried.
Great block.
Just a tremendous block downfield. Because when you got receivers blocking downfield, that's when those runs take place after a catch. And that came off a scramble where our quarterback kept his poise, stepped up in the pocket and moved a little bit to his right, and Johnny moved with him. We got a completion for about 17 yards, and then he went another 17 yards for a touchdown. So that I felt so good about winning a tough physical game that was close. I mean, that game could have went either way at the end. And, the last 2 wins we've had, we beat Pacific 31-29, and we beat Luther 16-14. Again, as a coach, you'd like to have it a little bit more cushion, but surely what you're trying to figure out is a way to win, whether it's scoring 31 or whether it's scoring 16. So I felt our men played so hard in that game and so physical. And the other good news, I think, Tim, more than anything else other than the win, is after you play a wishbone team, you're just hoping on Sunday that your guys can walk. And I'm serious.
Yeah.
And we didn't have anybody nicked up on the game on Saturday. Oscar White got cut at the ankle and had a sprained ankle, but we came out of that game probably as healthy as we have in any of the games we've played so far this year. And that game usually takes a toll on you. So I was really excited about our men's health.
Talk a little bit more about your defensive effort, including that big stop on 4th down at the 39 toward the end of the ball game, and that allowed you to take over the ball and run out the clock.
You know what's really interesting, Tim? If you remember what Luther did on that 4th and 5, they threw the ball. I'm like, whoa, that is good news for us, because really that type of offense, whether you're in 4th down or 3rd and 1 or 4th and 5, they usually run the option. And if you don't defend the option, they got a great chance to pick up a 1st down. Well, anyhow, they didn't run the option. They ran a sprint out pass, which is highly unlike them. And it just reinforced in my mind as I watched the game and our plan evolve and the plan get implemented. We had an extra guy for their pitch, and we were able to take care of their fullback and their quarterback, but still get an extra man to the pitch. Part of that phase of the option was that outstanding play by our men. And our safeties did such a good job with the rest of our secondary being secondary run support. That would be Derek Trotter, Derek Shambeau, Cody Benishevitz, Michael Joseph, Oscar White. They did a fantastic job, because you got to have your secondary be secondary run support, because when they get somebody on the edge and get somebody knocked down that has the pitch, those guys got to come up and make a play, and they were able to do so. Anything else about the Luther game that would be important to point out where your team really excelled or improved over the last couple of weeks? I thought the other part of it, we had a drop punt, which really changed the complexion of that game, and it wasn't a bad snap. It was just a block punt, but we did a good job on our kickoff coverage, an outstanding job on that part. We turned the ball over on a kickoff return, which gave them their first points, as you well know. But offensively, we didn't turn the ball over. We didn't take a sack, and we didn't give an interception. So if you can limit your turnovers, and we did on offense, the special team part, we dropped that kickoff return. But I thought other than that, we really played the type of game you have to play to beat them. This is the UD Football Show with Stan Zweifel. It is Monday night before the Spartans' next ball game, as they'll be at Simpson College taking on the Simpson College Storm. And we're going to talk about that game coming up. As we go to break, though, I'm going to give a chance for one of our listeners to pick up a all-season athletic pass, 2 of them, to get you into any UD Spartan football game for the rest of the year at home, or home basketball, women's basketball, and wrestling and the other sports where you have to pay admission. So the number for the River Studio line is 690-0835. Give Jason a call there, and he'll take the first caller at 690-0835, and we'll see if we can't get that person's name and give them credit here on the UD Football Show. But give Jason a call right now, and he'll set you up with that pair of athletic passes. And when we come back, we'll talk about the Spartans' Saturday opponent, the Simpson College Storm, when we return. This is the UD Football Show with Stan Zweifel on 101.1 The River. And we're back here on this Monday night, the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zweifel, as the Spartans getting ready to enter Iowa Conference play and their Iowa Conference opener with Simpson College. And after week number 1 of the Iowa Conference slate, any surprises or anything that really caught your attention after week number 1 of all the teams playing one another? A lot of close games. There really were some close games. Cohen-Loris was a very close game. And, Wartburg, I still think they're going to be the odds-on favorite to win. They played Central, 2 of the top teams in the league, played it closer than I thought it would probably be. And then Simpson probably was the most surprising score to me. They really handled BV down at their place. So they had a great offensive output, and they got 3 turnovers in the second quarter against BV, and every one of those turnovers became a touchdown for them. So they were very explosive. I think they won 41 or 43-13, a very big score. We've had traditionally, Tim, the games with Simpson, my Lord in heaven, they've been 100 points and 1,000 yards or 1,200 yards. And they have a new offensive coordinator, Jeff Judge, who matter of fact, was the head coach at Anderson. We played Anderson a couple of years ago in the 2011 season, I think it was. and he's down there. He had coached at Simpson before when they made the national playoffs in the mid-'90s, and he's back there. And they're a little bit different than they have been offensively in the past. And Coach Glogowski is the head coach and also the D coordinator, so we're very familiar with their defensive package, although they've changed some of their coverages this year. But they're a very aggressive football team, and already they've got more wins in the conference than they had all of last year. They had a very difficult season last year, and they're 2-2. So I think they feel really good about where they're at, and they're a much improved team, Tim. They are playing harder on both sides of the ball than I think that when we played them last year. And I think, just playing with more confidence. It has always been, as I mentioned, a barn burner down there for whatever reasons. I'm not quite sure I can put my finger on it. They've done very well against us, and we've been able to do very well against them. It'll be a critical game because if somebody can go 2-0, obviously, you're still in a position to be undefeated in the conference, and they'll be defending their home turf. And I think they do an outstanding job. I have the utmost respect for Coach Glogowski and his staff. He's always prepared, and I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about playing a 1 o'clock game down there. I really am. We've got home so late after the games that we played in the past. It just keeps us on a better schedule, I think.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned they had a 43-13 victory at home over Buena Vista in their opener, and their stats showed a pretty balanced attack, but the running back, Jordan Beam, he put up 184 yards.
He's got great speed. He's not a big kid, got great speed on the edge. They try to highlight him by getting the ball on the perimeter, Tim. We're going to have to make sure we have a good second guy into the ball with him, but we really want to make sure we contain him, number one. He's not the biggest back in the league, and we'd love to be able to get some helmets on before he gets started. Their quarterback has been very good. He's very active in the pocket. He reminds me a lot of the kid out at Pacific with his good mobility and nice arm, and he's been playing very well and throwing accurately, and they've been able to mix the ball up. But I think what you said, Tim, really stuck out to me too. Now, they're very balanced. They're going to try to be close to 50-50 and make sure that they can keep you off balance, that you're not sure when they're going to pass or run. And then they have a really good story on their defense. The Finley kid, Clay Finley's an Afghanistan military guy that came out of the military, now playing football for him. They kind of move him around. He might be one of their better athletes on their defense. Very aggressive, very physical kid. And really good story. I mean, really, really good story on that part. And they returned 5 starters from last year on defense. So we feel they're going to have some really good veteran leadership on that defense.
In preparing for a team that has a balanced attack, how much more of a challenge is that for you than preparing for somebody like a Luther that you know exactly what they're going to do pretty much every play?
A lot easier, let me tell you that. The good news about when you play a Simpson College is that they reflect very much what we do. So you're practicing during the course of the season a team that's going to try to run it and pass it balanced, but we also have very similar formations and probably similar philosophies. With the Luther thing, as we've mentioned, Tim, it's so hard to practice it the way you're going to see it in the game. This week now, Tim, last week we never went against each other, the first offense against the first defense. Now we'll do probably 2 or 3 segments a day where we'll go in some kind of pass or some kind of run or some kind of third and long or third and short or some kind of red zone. We'll do some work against each other to keep with the speed of the game, and that's always good. And it allows you to go better versus better during the course of the week, which just makes it easier, I think, for the men to get ready for the speed on Saturday.
As you've taken a look at them and broken down game tape, they won over River Falls and lost to Illinois Wesleyan and Elmhurst. So they lost 2 games in a row after opening the season. What were those offenses able to do against them that you're going to try to exploit?
Yeah, River Falls had big plays, 2 explosive runs, a 44-yard run and a 49-yard run that set up the other touchdown. I thought they played River Falls probably even, and River Falls just beat La Crosse here past Saturday, and La Crosse had beaten Luther. I don't know what that means, Tim, other than I think it's going to be a very competitive game, and I would be shocked from all the meetings that we've had previously with Simpson in my era here, the 6 times we played them, they've been high-scoring affairs that could have went either way towards the end of the game. But River Falls made some explosive plays, and Elmhurst made some explosive plays in the pass game. It appeared to me that when the games that they won, they were able to bring that back a little bit and then make some own explosive plays of their own. Now, the BV game, they just took the ball away from BV, and it really wasn't a game after the first half, Tim. They got that thing so out of hand. But we really want to go down there and be able to start fast. And even though we didn't start fast against Luther, I thought our opening drive at least established some, first of all, keeping their offense off the field, and second of all, giving us some confidence, even though we weren't able to convert that into a score.
Well, you've improved game by game offensively, and you got to feel like you're just on the cusp of this team really opening things up a little bit.
Yeah, we really felt that in that game we left probably 14 points on the field that we didn't get it taken care of. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot of points, 28, but when you only have so many possessions. And I think we're going to continue to get better. And I think we didn't give up a sack, like I mentioned. We only had 2 penalties for 8 yards.
Yeah.
That's the lowest since we've been here. And we took the ball away from them on offense, and we didn't turn it over on offense. If we can continue that work on that part, I think we'll do very, very well.
One thing, Coach Miyamoto, when he came up and talked with us at the end of the ball game, not only did he ask if there was a defibrillator around, but he was a little frustrated with the run game a little bit.
We were, and Tim, I'll say this because I talked to Coach Nysom, our offensive coordinator, coaches our offensive line. The hard thing in a game like that, you have limited amount of snaps, and I felt we had a great pass. Our passing concepts were right against those guys, so we never got to really establish the run during the course of that game. Even though we rushed it, I think, 25 times and threw it 28, again, very close to the balance we want, we just were not able to establish a good rhythm. But you know what kind of grazed that, Tim? Not scoring inside the 1-yard line and not being able to score when we missed the field goal, because we ran the ball in for a touchdown and it got called back. So those are things we'll surely work on during the week, but I don't know if it was things that were more or less what happened because of the nature of the game than it was our scheme.
Like you said, it was a physical ball game against Luther. Injury situation going into this week's preparation. Are you doing pretty well there?
It's about the best we've had. I said last week it's the best we've had. Knock on wood, my head, potentially. So we hope we're going to have that same thing. But we came out of that game relatively unscathed and very healthy. So we really feel like we're getting guys back now. Blaine Snitcher, of course, back for his first game. 18
Legend tackles. Yeah. Welcome back, Blaine.
No kidding. My gosh, was that good to have him back. We got Will Hudson back in the defensive line, and our corner who's been out for a little bit, he'll be back. So we're back at full strength, both offensively and defensively. For the first time this season, we're back. Everybody's healthy. So that's exciting news, and we feel like we're getting better each week, and this game Saturday will be a real test to see how we're improving.
Stan, we're about ready to turn you loose here. Anything else you want to add as you get ready to face Simpson?
Big game. It'll be a lot of fun. It's like I said earlier, these games just have had the history of being high-scoring, fun affairs, and really, I think most of them have been decided on the last possession of the games we played against them. So
maybe bring that defibrillator Coach Miyamoto wanted along.
Mick might have to use that.
Coach, we appreciate your time here. We'll look forward to talking with you next week on the UD Football Show, again at 6 o'clock. And we'll look forward to the broadcast on Saturday at 1 o'clock as you take on the Simpson Storm pregame here on the River at 12:40. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Tim. We'll talk to you shortly.
All right. We'll come back and we'll put a lid on this week's UD Football Show with Stan Zwiefel. We'll take a break and come back after this on 101.1 The River. Back on the UD Football Show with head coach Stan Zwiefel. Thanks so much for Coach joining us on the Spartans off day. They have the day off of practice on Monday. They practiced last week because of the bye week situation, but this is the day they do have off. So Coach Zwiefel, it's easiest for him to join us on Monday nights at 6 o'clock, and so we'll look forward to next Monday night at 6 o'clock for another UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel joining us. And don't forget about the ball game this Saturday on the River, 101.1. You can tune in for pregame coverage with Jim Cloran and myself at 12:40, and a kickoff coming from, I think it's Buxton Field is the name of the field. Paul Meisner is shaking his head yes over there. I got it right. Buxton Field. And we'll be on the air at 12:40, 1 o'clock kickoff as the Spartans should play an entertaining game against the Simpson Storm. Invite you to tune in for that. And you can also tune in online at dbq.edu. Look for that Listen Online link on the Athletic Department's homepage. So that is going to wrap up our UD football show for this Monday night. Thanks so much for tuning in. For the UD football show and head coach Stan Zwiefel, I'm Tim Larry on 101.1 The River.